Hi everybody, welcome to SOAPBOX. My name is Mauro Di Pasquale. I'm the Executive Director here at WCCA TV 13, the People's Channel, your host on this program. If you'd like to be a guest on SOAPBOX, give us a call, 508-755-1880, extension 10. You'll talk with Tracy. You can also best reach her by email, tracy@wccatv.com. Tell her you want to be on SOAPBOX, and we'll do what we can to get you on this show. We do videotape all our episodes at the end of the month all together, so bear in mind if you have an event you want to publicize, make sure you get to us well in advance of that. At the top of the show, I want to thank Steve Welch Opticians for helping out the show, making it possible, Sal Acuri of Acuri Motor, and also all the members of our Circle of Friends. There are about 38 different businesses that are participating in WCCA Circle of Friends. And that's, making donations to the station to help us do what we do. We're a nonprofit charitable organization. And making programs like this and many others, especially our after-school youth programs, possible. So we want to thank you all. And I want to thank all the volunteers that make today's show possible. Joshua Davila for volunteering today, helping us do this show, along with all our staff, Frank Rocco, Tracy Foley, Zara Didi, Pat Betancourt, Johnson Mikowskis, all those that make SOAPBOX special. And there are dozens of shows just like this. Don't forget, this spring, this summer, we have our ongoing educational programs here. So you want to participate in that, give us a call at the station, whether it's TV production, film production, our summer programs, our after-school youth programs. Give us a call or check it out at WCCATV.com, where you can also watch us streaming live at WCCATV.com. Thank you very much for watching. Without further ado, I'd like to get into today's program. We welcome Sheriff Lew Evangelidis, who's here with us. It's good to see you, Sheriff.
Hey, Mark, great to be back on SOAPBOX.
Yeah, it's good to have you. You are a busy guy. Every time you're in the paper, you're out there, giving, educating the public about the sheriff's office, about what's going on at the county jail. You're doing these different programs, and I'm happy you're here to talk about that. And thank you for taking time in advance from your schedule to do that.
I'm thrilled to be out here. It's a tremendous job. As I've said before when I've been on with you, it's a really honor and privilege to be sheriff of this county, and I made a commitment to do things a little different. I think we're doing that, and part of that involves being a real strong presence in the community to try to make our county a better, safer place.
Well, you're really focused on what you're doing. I got to tell you, personally, I appreciate what you're doing, and I think you're making the community a better place for all your efforts. Worcester County Sheriff's Office, there's a few bullets that I kind of want to go through, and you can take your time. This is your soapbox.
Sure.
So, you can take your time.
I don't need a soapbox. I'm 6'7", but
I know, that's right. I should get on your shoulders. But, you could talk about any of these subjects as long as you want. And, I know some of them you want to get a little more public awareness around them, so we'll do that too. But increased hiring standards. You want to talk a little bit about that? What's going on with the sheriff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, one of the things they did right out of the gate, Mauro, was I just felt that it was important to send a message that, the only criteria would be for people to be hired and be promoted was really to be their work product. So I changed the hiring standards by raising them to the highest in the state of Massachusetts. Now you can't be hired by the Worcester County Sheriff's Office unless you have at least an associate's or a regular degree in college. You have military. You have passed a physical test, a written test, a drug test, and then after you get all that, then we actually have a psychological profile we instituted to make sure that we get the best, most qualified people for the positions in corrections. It's a very difficult job, being a corrections officer and other aspects of the jail. Very difficult job. We want to make sure that the right people who have the qualifications and are suited for it are actually working with us. So we wanted to take the politics out of it. I don't take contributions from employees anymore. I couldn't think of a more important message to send, that it's not about any contributions to the sheriff anymore. It's going to be about how hard you work. And if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. But if you don't, we're going to hold people accountable. And I know that's why I was sent there, to try to change a little bit of the culture. And we've been blessed to have some great people up there with me. We've tried to bring in more of them. And we feel right now, after a couple of years on the job, we've really made some great progress. So we're very pleased with those changes so far.
That's great. I think the public should really want to know that. I mean, especially come time to vote and all that stuff. It's great to know that these are the changes you make them. They're not political changes. They're really for the quality and improvement of the service, and it's so warranted, because it's a long-term commitment for these people when they're going to work for you.
Absolutely,
they're in a position where they really need that capacity to go for long term.
Well, which I'll probably talk more about, but I believe the essence of being sheriff is, besides keeping bad people, people who have committed crimes, and people who are paying their service, keep them off the streets. Yeah. The secondary focus of the sheriff really has to be make sure that out of those 6,200 Maury's, 6,200 people come through that institution every year. I want to make sure that we do everything in our power to make sure that every one of those, we try to turn them around and make them less likely to commit a crime when they get out. Because they go back to every corner, every street in the county. I want to do everything we can, and I feel like by changing the hiring standards and not taking contributions to employees and really getting everybody on the same page, we're going to be better at doing that. And in the end, that makes us a safer, better community. And that's what it's all about to be sheriff, in my opinion.
If you can turn those people around, that's even better for all the community.
Well, one of the things, Mara, we've done, which I'm very proud of, we have a new substance abuse director, for example. We have a new educational director I brought in. We've got some great people now working in those areas, and we're really focused on that because in the end, like I stated earlier, it's really about making sure those people that get out, 90% of our inmates, 90% of the inmates in our jail and across America are in prison because of drugs and alcohol. It's a simple concept. So we have to break those chains of addictions and alcohol and try to give people some kind of programming. We take a disciplined approach. We meet everybody halfway. We don't go and, if you're not going to invest in these programs, you're not going to make it. But if you want to come and really work hard, we will offer you the programming that'll help you turn your life around. We don't have the time, money, resources, or patience to deal with people who don't want to help themselves. But there are plenty in there that do. And if they do, and they meet us halfway, we'll meet them and we'll help them. And in the end, they're going to get out, and I know this because I'm already hearing it when I'm out in the community. They've turned their lives around. They now are productive citizens. Their family's proud of them. We're proud of them because we want them to become productive citizens, not repeat criminals.
Right. Now you have children, right?
I do.
Yeah. How old are you? Can I ask you how old?
I have two teenage daughters.
You have two teenagers. Now I still have two teenagers at home too. So when they come home and they make little jokes about what they see on TV and they make these little casual jokes about the drugs.
Sure.
Doesn't that get to you sometimes? Maybe your kids don't, but sometimes my kids do. And they make these little jokes and you go, wait a minute, this is a serious thing. You don't even joke about it. Because like you say, 90% of the people that are in there have drug related. It's not a joke. It's a real serious. It's really
very serious. As a matter of fact, I'm proud to say my kids, we talked about it even this weekend.
Yeah.
And they do comment on the fact that being sheriff, and they know how committed I am through my face-to-face program, which we'll talk about. But here's a program I've developed. We've brought it in front of 50,000 students in Worcester County since I've been sheriff. We're the only sheriff in the country doing it. But it's a drug and alcohol program, and I try to make it an entertaining program for high school students, but we put it in front of an average of 200 to 500 kids. We're scheduled through the end of the year. We've done almost every school in Worcester. I think Doherty hasn't gotten back to us, but the rest of the schools have all embraced us to come in. And it's a wonderful program, about 45 minutes, but we talk about the idea that why is the sheriff talking to young people? Because 90% of the people in my jail tell me, Sheriff, I wish I could go back. Roll the clock back to middle and high school. I'd make different choices, and 90% of those choices were drugs and alcohol. So I bring that story along with videos of Lindsay Lohan and Charlie Sheen and Eminem, and we try to make it entertaining. And at the end, we have technology that can actually take photographs of the young people who are in the audience and their teachers and their administrators. And we can show how their appearance would change. If nothing else, how your appearance will change through the addictions that we're talking about. And that's shocking. And if you have teenagers like we do, they care what they look like.
Oh, yeah, right. That's a big thing.
So we're trying to push any button we can to make people think twice. And I guess when we get back to my kids, I'm proud of one thing. They know I'm sheriff, obviously. They know I'm committed through this program. I brought it to their schools. And they kind of joking away about, well, Dad, we certainly can't get involved in that because of my position. So we have those open discussions, as I hope every family does. And I hope, even just for my own children's sake, that my position and my public position, both on drugs and alcohol, and my elected position, would make them think twice, as I hope everything would.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why, as a parent, I really appreciate what you're doing when you do this, because I saw something about where they show the person who's been an abuser of drugs, and they're 20 years old, but they look older than I do. Their faces are ravaged.
We show them before and afters, and they're shocking. You see people who are 28 years old in a photograph when they're first arrested, and I can show you them 2 years later. They look, I won't even say an age, they just look horrible. Horrible. So we try to convey those messages for the young people to get through to people, to make them think twice about drugs and alcohol, because the sad reality is drugs, alcoholism, incarceration, they happen to any family, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
And so many people think, well, it won't happen to me. That happens to other people or other families. But we know, and I know from firsthand experience even, that it can happen to any of us at any time. So we have to be very vigilant.
Exactly.
I'm trying to bring that message to the young people of the county because I'd like to put myself out of business.
Yeah. But parents appreciate that because parents have to fight every day. That message, to make sure that they got to stay on top of their kids. And that's exhausting for parents to stay on it. And you don't want to discourage your kids, but you want to make sure they understand this is not a joke. Because you might see a couple people that survived taking drugs, but there's a big majority of them that are in your place that can't get out. They've just been stuck there because of the fact that they were on drugs.
Well, I'll tell you the one other message I'd like to bring to the parents, if there are folks out there listening, parents of these young people, or grandparents even, and that is that when we were growing up, it was, you BYOB, bring your own booze, or break into your parents' liquor cabinets. Well, now it's BYOP, which is bring your own pills, and you're breaking into your parents' medicine cabinets. And I really hope, if there's no other message I could even leave today to folks listening, would be aware it's the prescription drug epidemic that's happening right now. More young people are trying prescription drugs for the first time than marijuana.
Wow.
It's a watershed change in drug use for young people. And I think a lot of parents aren't tuned in because prescription medications have become such a prevalent part of our society, but they're extremely dangerous. And if I could just digress for one moment on this point, what's happening and we're seeing is that young people will start taking these prescription painkillers. They're readily available. And what happens is when they can't get access to those anymore, where do they go? Well, it's from the same derivative of heroin. And they start finding themselves on the streets buying heroin, which is unbelievably true, but true that heroin is about $5 a bag, and these prescription pills can go for as much as $50 or $100 on the street. So these young people, when we were growing up, Maura, we had, maybe marijuana and things, but there was a big step missing in that ladder to heroin. Well, today you just walk right up those steps. And I'm just very fearful. A lot of young people who don't think, and this is what they tell me, Maura, when they come up afterwards, they say, my friends don't think prescription drugs are real drugs because they're under a doctor's prescription.
Right, exactly.
And we're trying to demystify that, debunk that myth, and make sure that the young people understand these drugs are dangerous, even under a doctor's care. So that's what we're all about on that, and I'm proud of this. Where I said we're booked through the year. I think we've already got North High booked on in September, so we're starting to take bookings into next year as well.
Yeah. Great program, face-to-face drug and alcohol prevention. Parents appreciate it, all of it. You get some more work here. You remove. I think last time we talked, you were removing the names from the vehicle, the department names, the names of the sheriff from the vehicles.
There had been some discussion about whether it was appropriate. I just made a promise in my campaign. Would not put my name on any vehicle in this county because it's not about me. It's about the Worcester County Sheriff's Department. People joked Evangelidis wouldn't fit. It would fit tomorrow, but it doesn't belong on there. So it was just a way to symbolize we're doing things different, and that this department is about each and every individual that works there. We have a significant amount of employees that are dedicated to public safety, and I want people to think of us as a team, not as me. Speaking of team, you also tripled the inmate work crews. So you got people out there doing some work. Now that's a big boon for the community too. You got a lot of really helping out. Want to talk a little bit about that? There's some value there. Some economic value. Thank you. No, that's a wonderful program. Inmates go into the communities and they can provide free public service to any nonprofit. So if anyone in the audience is listening and you want an inmate work crew, now the promises I'll make to you is these are pre-screened inmates. They're the best we have. They're nonviolent, they're non-sex offenders, they're supervised, and they earn their way into this program. But we have about 25 inmates today, as well as tomorrow and every weekday in Worcester County working for nonprofits. In the time I've been sheriff, we've saved about $3.5 million in projects that would have cost our community money. We've saved $3.5 million. And yet the beauty of this program, Maura, to me is symbolized by almost every time I go, I hear the same thing, whether we're cleaning up ball fields right now for the spring cleanup, or town halls or veterans parks. They tell me, the community organizers for those particular projects will say, Sheriff, thank you so much for bringing the crew out. They did an incredible job. They saved us tens of thousands of dollars. And they just appreciate the work they do. And they said they were respectful and they show up on time and they work hard. But to me, the flip side, which is incredible, is that the inmates will come up to me and say, Sheriff, I want to thank you for letting me be part of this program. because before I did this, I never knew how it felt to have the dignity in a day's work, the self-respect in a day's work. And you know what? These inmates get out, they're the least likely to repeat offend. So I always think of this, Mara, saying, wouldn't it be great if we had every government program that could save the community millions of dollars and turn people's lives around at the same time? Wow. So we're committed to that program, and it is tremendously successful. We're booked several weeks or months in advance. But if anyone needs it, including the city of Worcester, I was talking to Commissioner Moylan recently, city manager. We will help the city after that big snowstorm we had last year. We cleaned up Elm Park. We sent the inmates in. We're also working on some public works projects here in the city as well as throughout the community. So we're just here to help. And there's another avenue where we get a chance to really help out Worcester County.
That's a great idea. I mean, the city can save some money too, you know, and it's good to get. I'm sure some of the inmates too. That it's a good exercise for them too, just the physical, the tactile, experience. Just getting out there and doing something physical must be a good thing too.
You know, it was more
health-wise.
One inmate told me, I think it symbolized the program. He was 19 years old. He'd been a gang member his whole life. He said to me, Sheriff, I've never worked a day in my life, never had a job. He goes, ever since I've been in this program, I get up every day. I look forward when the officer comes and gets me up, and we get on the road, and I get out there in the community. He goes, I feel so good about myself now. He goes, I understand what it means to work. And when I get out, I want to do this. I don't want to go back to that life. I want to become a productive citizen. He goes, I feel good about giving something back. Wow, that's pretty powerful for someone who's actually saving us money while he does it. So it's a great program.
So that's pretty good. So, and you've been really increasing that.
I didn't create that program. It's been going on with prisons and correctional institutions for years. But I've tuned into that program from the day I got in, and I thought we can make this bigger and better and more efficient. So we've really worked to expand it. So far, we've tripled it, and it's working out really, really well.
So what's it mean by your office doing disciplined approach to inmate care? Can you explain that?
Well, that's what we talked about earlier in the sense that when we have 1,200 inmates today in Worcester County, and just to be clear for the audience, because I'm sure most don't know this, but about half of our inmates, for simplicity's sake, are pre-trial. They're being held on a bail, no bail, pretrial. The other half are sentenced inmates. Those are people who have been sentenced to less than 2.5 years incarceration. They come to our place. So we have to work with those people. I mean, I don't think my job was sent there simply to, obviously we've already talked about patronage and politics and all that. That wasn't what I was hired to do. People sent me there to make a difference. And the way we can do it is to get those inmates engaged, those who want to help themselves. There's a lot of people I can't reach. But there's a lot of people we can. And my job is to bring in the right people that will reach out to those inmates, get them in a disciplined approach. We don't coddle inmates. You don't get it like we don't beg you to come to classes and help you. No. But if you want to come and you want to help yourself, and we're going to hold you accountable, the days of signing in, try to get some good time perhaps, and go back to your cell or outside, over. We want to help those people that come with a commitment. And just for example, just last Friday as a matter of fact, we had implemented a brand new program since I've been sheriff called anger management. A lot of our inmates have anger management problems. That's why they're in prison. That's why they have domestic issues. Well, we started a program now that will give them 10 weeks to learn how to deal with their anger issues. And I go speak to those inmates when they complete that program, and they tell me, Sheriff, this program, through the people that do the great work, it's our employees that do all the great work. They developed this program, they implemented it, I green-lighted it because I believed in it. But the inmates will tell me, Sheriff, I know now I've learned so much on how to deal with my anger issues, and it's going to make a difference in my life going forward. So that's the idea of disciplined approach. We will bring programming to inmates, but they got to meet us halfway. They got to commit. This involves homework. It involves work study. It involves a real commitment to get involved. But if they'd show that commitment, we're there to meet them.
Yeah, that's terrific. There's a new K9 on the KETA program. What's that all about?
Well, the biggest celebrity you've got at the Sheriff's Department now is our new canine. We needed a drug sniffing dog for the institution, I believed. I thought it would be very helpful for us because as much as we try, and we do a great job, always people trying to bring drugs into a correctional facility or have them on the facility or drugs throughout the county. So what we found was we found a need for a dog like that. So what we did is we went out and we found an appropriate dog at a Sterling Animal Shelter, as a matter of fact. It was a shelter dog. He's a Sato from Puerto Rico. He's a mixed blend of dogs. I have a Sato too, so they're all funny-looking little dogs. But this dog had the right background, And we had an officer who was put in charge of training him. We trained him through the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department at no cost.
Yep.
And for essentially no cost, we now have online Nikita, our new pooch. And he is probably the most talented drug-sniffing dog Worcester County's ever had.
Wow,
He's
cool.
already paying incredible dividends at the jail. He's found a lot of attempts to smuggle things into the jail. For example, people will put Suboxone.
They'll come in to visit.
They'll put Suboxone on the glue of letters that they try to send in. Imagine
Really?
like that. People are very sophisticated.
Yeah.
This dog is sniffing it all out. He's stopping the mail. We go through the cells periodically, the blocks. The word is out there, Mauro. The Sheriff's Department is mobilizing with a drug dog, and it's really paid off, not only in what we found, but the deterrence factor.
Yeah.
So we're excited. We use him outside the facility. If any school, any community needs a drug-sniffing dog, he's very sophisticated. He can sniff out things like prescription drugs, which you wouldn't even think of having no sense. So it's not just like marijuana and things. He can sniff out anything. He's very highly trained. And the funny thing about him is he's a little guy. He's only about maybe 25, 30 pounds. He's not the big shepherd type you'd expect.
Yeah.
The reason is the prototype today now is a smaller, more maneuverable dog.
Yeah.
This dog can
get in there and
get inside. He doesn't scare people. He's not there to intimidate or to be an
like
attack
a big
dog.
shepherd or something.
He's a dog that we want to have passive dog who can go up to anyone, but when he smells something on you, even if you're visiting the jail, we can bring him around. He'll sit right down. If he sits down, there's something going on.
Is that right?
Yeah, so the word is out there. And I'll tell you, Worcester County, the people who are involved in the jail, they know we have this dog, and Nikita's doing a great job.
It's amazing that people would even try to smuggle stuff in. They know that person's in there because of drugs, probably, and they're still feeding it to them. Isn't it awful?
Well, I'd like to say it didn't happen. I'd like to say to you those things don't happen.
Yeah,
but any correctional facility across this country, that's always an issue. So we are fighting back with every tool we've got. Now, I'm confident we've shut it down as much as you can, and that's a lot, but you always have to be on alert.
Yeah. Wow. And we talked about we already started talking about some of the community programs like Face to Face, which is a phenomenal program. There's inmate community service, and there's an agriculture program.
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, the agriculture, if you don't mind.
No, I'm very proud of that program. We have 300 acres. Now, if the listening audience, maybe many of you have not been up to the jail, and I understand that, but we're in West Boylston, almost directly across the street from Worcester Country Club, to give you a sense of where we are, right up the hill. But what we do is, on those 300 acres, we found about 15 acres that are very farmable.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was, let's start an agricultural program. Let's kick it up, and let's see what we could do in the first year. So last year, we have a Deputy Temple and a Sergeant Gallagher who are very committed to this program. And what we did with about 11 acres last year, $900 worth of seed, and the inmates that were committed to it. And Mauro, I'll tell you one thing funny. This is hard, back-breaking work. Yeah. Interestingly, we found that the inmates that really succeeded in this program are not our youngest inmates. They weren't the 20s. They were the 30s and 40-year-old inmates. I think it has something to do about patience of understanding farming and agriculture. It takes time. Yeah. They worked hard. But by the end of the season, that $900 turned into 20,000 pounds of food. Wow. We saved thousands, I think about $20,000 worth of food costs for the jail, which inmates ate organically fresh-grown food. Number two, we distributed thousands of pounds of food to the Worcester County Food Bank. And this is things we grew like squash, produce, zucchini, corn. And at the end of the year, we had a pumpkin crop in the fall, and we distributed hundreds of pumpkins to senior centers throughout the county. Yeah. And that was for $900. Wow. And the inmates thanked me. Sheriff, that's a deal. This has been a great program. Some of them feel like they've never understood the patience of farming something and learning a skill like that. So again, it's one of those areas I look at the jail and I say, where can we do things that are cost effective and at the same time try to help the inmates to turn their lives around, because they do want to be more productive citizens. I don't believe anybody wants to become a drug addict, wants to become an alcoholic, wants to be a criminal, wants to go back to the streets again. Because one other thing I'll mention, I talk to the inmates sometimes, and one thing they all agree with one thing. No matter what street life they come from, they learn one thing when they go to jail. Those people they thought were their friends, they don't visit them. Yeah. They're not their friends. Right. The only people they can really count on are their family and their closest friends, perhaps. Yeah. And they know those are the people that were there for them. So we try to perpetrate that message to them. Remember who was here for you when you hit this place. because don't go back to the old life because they're not your friends.
Right,
and sometimes people have to come back to learn that lesson.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But we're trying to get that lesson across every day.
Yeah, there's nothing more empowering though to grow your own food. You know, I mean, they learn that's a craft, really. You know, to learn it, to understand farming, and it's healthy stuff. It's organic.
Oh, it's wonderful.
That's a great.
Yeah,
program.
we just replanted the fields just last week, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So we're all excited about another bumper crop of agricultural season this year. I expect we'll have as good or better results because we're growing a couple more acres. There's a lot of deer, there's a lot of wildlife out there that try to get in the way of us.
Sure, yeah.
But we're doing that. Now, I'll even mention one thing that just came up, just to show you things that I don't think you have heard about this because it just occurred. But a gentleman came up to me. I'd spoken at the Briarwood, which is right next door, senior living center. Came up to the jail. He says, I'd like to talk to you about, you got perfect land to help us restore the bluebird population in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
And I was open to that idea. And we're actually putting up about 5 or 6 bluebird houses. And we're going because we have this open land with water nearby. And we're excited that even a simple use of the land like that, again, the inmates will clean the nests out and things like that at the end of the year. But we're hopeful that will be just a nice thing we can do with our population, with our location and land to make Worcester County a little bit nicer place. That's just a small little thing that came up, and we're open to it.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good for the environment. It's good for the area, and it's good for those inmates to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I think so.
Even they can meditate while they're working. Even there's a lot of levels to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's terrific. We're almost out of time. We got maybe 2 minutes left, so I want to make sure we cover all. You got a lot going on there.
Yeah, we sure do.
You need more than a half an hour, I'll tell you. But let's look at some of the. There's a food drive coming up.
Oh yeah.
You got the annual senior picnic that's coming in August. That's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what. We have a thing, and anyone who's interested, I'd love to have people join because it's a charitable organization called the Worcester County Sheriff Reserve Deputy Sheriff Association. And it's something we do to make a charitable organization purely to make Worcester County a better place. And we do so many great things with a very limited amount of funding that we get from people's contributions. But we put on things like in August, we'll be putting on the largest senior picnic, probably in the county's history, free of charge, all based on donations for well over 1,000 seniors. We had to add a tent last year beyond the tent. We have it at SAC Park in Shrewsbury. But it's a wonderful day. We have well over 100 volunteers, and we put on a wonderful meal, hamburgers and hot dogs and watermelon and fruit and vegetables, all that. And then we do things like a food drive, a coat drive last year, 1,500 coats we distributed to families to help keep them warm in the winter months. It's a great charitable organization, and we always welcome to have new members who want to help us make Worcester County a better place.
Well, I think you're certainly doing that with the holiday turkeys and all this stuff.
Exactly.
Worcester County Sheriff. WorcesterCountySheriff.com.
Sure.
Sheriff, thank you for being
Morris,
here.
great to be here.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
always a pleasure talking with you. You make me feel like this is a great place. I think I got to go to jail now.
No, not by any means.
No, but you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all that, and you and your staff.
Thank you. I'm blessed to have some great people, and it's a great job.
Yeah, Sheriff Lew Evangelidis, ladies and gentlemen, here giving you an update on the latest here, the Worcester County Sheriff. All the activities they're doing there. Check them out. Send them a little bit of support. Let them know you really appreciate what they're doing, especially face-to-face program. Look for it in the schools. I'm Mauro DiPasquale. Until next time, I look to see you on WCCA TV 13, the People's Channel.